Welcome to the Stay Paid podcast, where we help agents and entrepreneurs master the latest business trends to unlock growth and create a life of freedom. Brought to you by Reminder Media.
Welcome to Stay Paid, where marketing meets motivation. My name is Joshua Syke.
We're testing out that new tagline. Tagline. My name's Luke Acree.
I'm going to keep using it.
Yep.
We have joining us, as always, Stephen Acree and Cody Smith from the Acree Brothers Realty team, the number one real estate team in Lynchburg, Virginia. And we're the number one marketing podcast in King of Prussia.
Yeah. hey. On a serious note, we were listed as a top real estate marketing company for 2025 by theclose.com.
Yeah, go check that out.
That's
exciting.
That came out a couple days ago, a week ago, or something like that.
Yeah, like middle of January.
Yeah, but they scored Constant Contact higher than us. We were like number 3 on the list.
We got to get to that number one spot. It kind of pissed me off.
The Close, if you're listening to this, I love you guys, but you pissed me off by that. You motivated my prey drive. They gave them like a 4.4 star and ours like a 4.3.
We were 4.3, yeah.
There's only 3 spots. You guys got third.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, there was more than 3 spots, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, not a ton more. Maybe
there
top 10?
There were 2 spots, so we got honorable mention. It was a top 10. It was a top 10 list of marketing companies. For
top 10, yeah, and we were number 3 on the list, so there you go.
Oh, that's it.
We're very appreciative of it. Speaking of being appreciative, we sent out a podcast survey over the last kind of month or so. We had like 1,000 people respond to this survey. And one of the things that we wanted to do more on the podcast is just get more interaction from the listeners and talk about topics that you want us to talk about. So this actually came from a question. This episode's idea came from a question from one of our listeners, Lane Blandford, I believe out of Alabama. She asked, do you believe public open houses and realtor open houses are still effective? So it kind of sparked this idea of Stephen and Cody, what you guys have done from your real estate team, open houses last year. And so kind of kick it off with that.
How many deals did you guys close last year from open houses?
Do you know the exact number?
Yep. So we did 18, and we had one agent, Tim, that did it at a super high level. He had about 10 of those 18.
Yeah, geez.
So we formulated a full standing operating procedure on how he does it and how we do it, and then have the whole team doing it now. And
we're going to make that. We're going to give 2 downloads for you guys listening to this for this podcast. We have an open house kit.
Yes, if you go to remindermedia.com/open house, there's actually a kit there that you can download, and I think it has a Canva template that you can actually use to customize with your own.
It gives
brand
you like
colors
signage for your open house, sign-in sheets, a bunch of collateral that you need for your open house. But even better than that, I want to take you guys as SOP, so your standard operating procedure that Acree Brothers does. And I want to put that into a PDF. Nice. And so you guys can download, like, how does Acree Brothers run an open house? That's what we're going to talk about on this podcast. But I think that'd be super valuable. Say that URL again one more time.
Remindermedia.com/open house.
Yeah. So we'll add those 2 downloads for you guys there. So you guys did 18 deals from open houses out of what, 269 or 270 transactions?
Yeah, 269.
Okay. Yep. So that's fantastic. So that's a great lead source for you guys. I see open houses as stellar if you can do them. Because it's really, an unpaid, I would say inbound lead. An unpaid, like you're not really having to pay Facebook or pay Zillow to get this lead. You are spending your time, but that's sweat equity. So sure. It's a great way, especially for agents that don't have a consistent lead flow, to get lead flow. And I was listening to an interview. I forget if it was Brandon Mulrin, who puts out great content, where he had interviewed somebody who they were doing 5 to 7 open houses a week. Jeez. 75% of their 125 deals that year came from open houses. So that was their strategy. Now, not every market is as good for open houses. I understand that. But can you guys talk about how many you do per month? Kind of what's your strategy there? Do you do them for every listing you have? What's the strategy?
Yeah. I mean, each agent has different goals when it comes to open houses. I'd say on average, we're doing about 2 a week per agent. But some of the agents are holding them Saturdays and Sundays and trying to rock it. It depends on their goals. So some will have 12 transactions that are going to come from open houses this year, and they should be holding one every single week.
Yeah. So when we're goal setting prior to the year, it's the goal is how many transactions you want to get. And then we break down especially if you've been in the business, how you got them previously, and what actions do we need to take to gain those.
Yeah.
So if you want to gain open houses, we'll then, make a strategy of how many open houses you need in order to get the lead.
Yeah. Historically, they open houses because, when I jumped into business, it was a really great market. I jumped into 2016 and just obviously went up from there. Across the board right now, we're seeing a longer time frame for close. So just everyone has to know it's in the follow-up. Like whatever lead source you have, it's going to be in the follow-up. Usually they've been, pretty instantaneous leads, bottom of the funnel leads, but now you're pushing like the 6 month,
that's what you guys are seeing in the Lynchburg market.
That's what we're seeing. But you'll see some, like Adam just implemented this strategy and just got someone under contract within 2 weeks from an open house. And he's got another one he thinks will be a little bit sooner as well. So obviously they can't be bottom of the funnel. That's why I like them. They're a little bit further down the road if they're going out and seeing houses.
Yep.
But everyone needs to know, like across the board, everyone's saying, they're pushing down the road, towards the middle of the funnel.
You guys have your own listings, right, that you're doing these open houses for. What if the agent doesn't have listings? Can you walk through how you guys have gotten doing open houses for other agents? Like, how does that process work? How would you recommend that?
Yeah. First is your own listing, the team's listings, and then it's building relationships with other realtors, even outside of our brokerage. So we'll go to dinner, drinks, whatever, with other realtors in town and just talk about business, how we can help each other. And it's creating those. And I've gotten great feedback because of my follow-up to the agent. So when we hold an open house, I'm texting, hey, what can we do for you? Do we need to bring signs? Do you have your own signs? What kind of marketing? Is it okay if I post a social media post? I'll include you as a listing agent. And then an hour after the open house, I'm texting that agent, hey, we had 4 people through. This is the feedback we had. Thank you so much for letting us hold it. And then so that's a huge piece that I've had a lot of feedback on, is like, you're the only one that's ever followed up at a heavy way of how it went.
And if you don't do that, you will get the shitty listings. every agent, that doesn't hold open house wants you to hold an open house for their crappy listings. And so if you're not providing value to that agent, they're never going to send the good ones. And that actually might be the most important thing, is you have to pick a listing, or you should pick a listing that's in the price range you want to be in. And that's going to be competitive on price, because that's going to draw way more traffic. It's as simple as that.
And then from that, the number one solo agent here in Lynchburg, she has now referred me to 3 or 4 other top agents to do their open houses. That's saying, hey, Acree Brothers does it at a high level. They communicate really well. So I'll have people reach out to me to hold their open houses now.
Dang, get out of here. That's crazy. Who is that agent?
Jill Rufus.
Yep. Jill Rufus, yeah. Yep. We got to get Jill on the show. We've talked about Jill and Jimmy before. We've got to get them on the show.
They're phenomenal. Great relationship builders. Man, they are great relationship builders.
Yeah, shout out to Jill for that. So that's how to get the open house. You guys are running like 1 to 2 a week per agent on the team. So then walk us through how do you market it? And then we'll get into how do you run it?
Yeah. I mean, we have runners for the top agents on our team that set up signs. So we'll set signs on every single corner. You just want to make sure, like with signage, that you get out to one highly trafficked area, right? It's like, if you're still in the community where no one's going to see the signs, obviously it's not going to be as beneficial. So we just make sure we get out to a highly trafficked area, some sort of intersection, and lead them back to the property. And then we'll set multiple open house signs at the property. And then we make sure we have the time on there as well, because a lot of people will show up. If you just have open house without the time, they'll show up on the wrong day, wrong time. And then we do social media at a pretty high level. So we post that, and we've got our, segmented groups in our CRM that will also send out open house listings too.
Yeah. So like a time sequence for you would be like Wednesday. One thing you want to make sure you do is you're putting it in your MLS so it shows up online. So when you go to Zillow, it says open house, so people can see that online. So do that earlier in the week. And then Wednesdays, we actually do a quick meeting to go over, hey, who needs an open house? What open houses do we have? And then from there, they're going to do a social media video real quick, a little walkthrough or a presentation of, hey, I'm holding an open house for Sunday. And then Friday, we'll do door knocking in that area of the open house, inviting the neighbors, and also seeing about what their house, it kind of works into the conversation.
Yep.
And then you hold
That's
it
awesome.
the weekend.
Yep. And we've got multiple listings as well from door knocking that would be from the open houses, but it's not actually from, holding the open houses, the door knocking side of things. So it's more.
How does that go? Like the door knocking, how are you approaching the door in the scripting that you're using? Do you find that most people are home, not home? Is it awkward?
Yeah, it's a mix. You're gonna have people there, people not there, so that's anytime.
Yeah.
But as far as the conversation goes, it's not awkward because I'm just telling them, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm sure you've seen some signs, but we're gonna be holding an open house right down the street on Sunday 2 to 4. So if you see a lot of extra cars, that's probably the reason why. And I would love to ask you a question that I wouldn't know because I don't live in the house. But what is like one feature about the neighborhood that you love?
Oh, that's
so asking for value, right? Awesome. I love that there's bus stops, or I love that we have this like little community playground. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that is great information. Thank you so much. I would love if you want to come by and see it. Yeah, it's always cool to see what other houses look like, compared to.
Cody's so much more relational than me. I'm like so much more transactional when I approach it. I go from, dude, you wouldn't believe what this listing, is going up for. Open out Sunday. We're all the way at 350. It's crazy,
Yeah.
And like, by the way, do you, want numbers on your house?
Yes, this, but for me with the open house one, so I wouldn't do this script if I was just door knocking.
Yeah.
That's the script I would use that I've got listings from by using that exact script.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Even it works.
But this for the open house, that's how you because you're bringing in the open house of the reason why I'm here, so it's a less pressure situation.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's a great intro.
Asking for value, doing that, and be awesome. Also, how I even we're able to help these people out is by giving them numbers on how much their home was worth, and they were shocked on how much the house is worth. So I would love to do that for you as well. Do you know how much your home's worth? And then that goes the selling part. And then it's just value from there. If they say no, I go, awesome. Well, I've got a list of contractors. Do you have any updates or anything you want to do to the house that I could just add value with and give you their information or connect to you? And then lastly, I bring up the magazine. Actually, I go, awesome. The last thing that I do is I actually do a free magazine. I send it bi-monthly, has a bunch of tips in there. And one of my favorite parts is the recipes in it. And it's really cool. I would love to send you that completely free. Would that be okay with you?
Who produces that magazine? That sounds cool. That sounds neat.
Yeah, a company called Reminder Media.
I love the.
Dang! I heard they're like a top 10
3
marketing company for 2025.
And trust me, there's more than 3.
Yeah.
I love the question though about the. We had I think Alan's interview will come out before
Alan
this.
Dalton, yeah.
But he talked about his agent actually promotes and does a booklet.
Yeah, she's a client of ours, Julie Vanderbloot. We're going to have her on the show.
And she'll interview the neighbor, has a whole section of what the neighbor's saying. It's a great way to promote.
She does that and this is something I was thinking about for you guys, which is interesting. She takes the listing. Now she's dealing with higher in homes. I think she did like 120 million last year herself, her production.
Wow.
Herself, let alone her team. She has done, a team, but she does a book per listing, like like some people do a flyer, and it's pictures of the house. But then there's a whole section that was Ask the Neighbors, and she basically puts in there what the neighbors say the best thing is about living in this neighborhood. And I'm thinking you maybe don't have to do a book on that, but you could do that. What you're saying, Cody, you could take that and put it in the listing, put it in the on the MLS or whatever to show on Zillow and stuff like that, because nobody else is doing that. And that is unique.
Or a one pager at the open house.
Just a one pager.
Yep. And it also might be
good. The same thing for when we hold the open house, when people come through and we have another listing. Like for right now, we have one in Cornerstone we're working on. And we took the feedback from everybody at the open house and brought that to their property. Like everyone's looking for a main level primary bedroom. They're looking for a garage in this neighborhood. They're looking for a yard, and yours has that. And it does work out really well if you have that data.
Yeah, because I also think if you could somehow, and maybe ChatGPT could help with this or some AI, if you could take what they say about the house and then turn that into text, that would be SEO, because then you are putting on each of your listings on your webpage what the neighbor says about that neighborhood. And I just feel like, oh, that would be quality content. But how could you do that? Maybe you wear a mic and you record all your combos that day and then upload the audio to like ChatGPT and just have it transcribe it or something like that. Like that might be an easier way to do it, to remember you know, what they say, because it'd be sometimes kind of hard, and it'd be good to have it in their words. But anyways, super interesting. So you're door knocking, you're inviting people to the open house.
You're wearing a wire.
Yeah, you're wearing a wire now.
Yeah, video cam. You have the glasses on that video.
Exactly. How? Let's talk about the day of the open house. What happens?
Yeah. So you take this away, and then I'll take up the follow up.
Yeah, 100%. So the first thing, anytime you're doing open house, is being prepared. So that's already running a CMA. Even if it's not your listing, you're running as if it were. You had a buyer already presenting those numbers. So running a CMA, getting the house numbers. You should be the expert of this house, even if it's not your listing. That way you have the knowledge, the respect immediately for any questions that would come up.
Have to.
So being prepared, but not only prepared in that way as far as knowledge, but also your motivation. Why are we here at the open house? It is to be engaging. So it's to be very approachable and approaching people. It's collecting the right data, asking the right questions, and ultimately the goal of, number one, getting them signed in. You have to get them signed in, but also your goal is to get them signed in an exclusive rights to represent them. So you just going in, because if you don't have the right motivation in it, you're just showing up, just doing this, you're not going to win anything. You're just wasting 2 hours.
You'd be surprised how many agents don't do just that part. Just the mindset shift of, we have to capture information. We have to capture data, because like we'll get back from the open houses before we put together this program for it, and you'd have 2 people sign in out of 7 people showing up, or 2 people sign in, 7 people give their email address. It's like, dude, you're never going to win this. You're never going to put in the time to win them over email. And like it's just the most important part. You've got to follow up with these people. You need some way to follow up. So being extremely intentional.
Yep. So with that, I'm setting up right in the front door. So front door, I've got my laptop set up for check-in, and being the first one to say, hey, I actually started like, man, it's a nice day outside to see houses, right? Like a joke that they like knew that was kind of coming, and it's like a little bit laughable just to kind of break
How's
it.
the weather?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, this day's nice, isn't it? Right? And it kind of like just breaks it a little bit, because I'm not asking immediately about houses. I make like a small tip or something to be friendly. And I think actually that's a huge part, because you got creating like an environment that's a little bit welcoming. But then
that makes so much sense.
Intentional questions like, how long have you been looking for a house? What drew you to this house? Asking, those are all intentional questions to figure out, all right, where do I need to go with this?
It's where they're at in the funnel. So like all of our questions are related to capturing data, so we know how to follow up afterwards, so we know how to set up expectations at the open house. So how long have you been looking for a house? What does that tell you? Like, I know if they're brand new, one, they're going to be later on the funnel, right? But I also know they're probably not signed with an agent right now. And so that's super helpful. I know I'm going to push for this lead because they're new. If they've been looking for a house for a long time, they might be looky-loos, right? But they also might be signed with an agent, and that's helpful to know. So you need to ask and probe more questions from there to get that data. So it just tells you how to follow up with the person from one question.
Yep. Okay. And the biggest answer or information that you can get is the timeline, because the timeline will tell you a lot of the motivation, where they're at in that funnel.
So if I said I'm looking and I'm hoping to find something in the next 6 to 12 months, what do you guys know about me?
I'm done.
Yeah. 6 to 12 months. So you're probably lying. It could be sooner. So I need to find out way more information than just that. So that actually doesn't help me out a ton, but 6 to 12 months. Awesome. Are you guys currently renting, or, you're just not in a rush?
When's their lease up?
Yeah. So
they're renting.
We're renting. Oh, okay. So is your lease up in June? No.
Labeling it incorrectly.
I'm just finding information out.
Gotcha.
So 12 months. Now, if you say, this is our 4th house, we're kind of in a rush. Oh, okay. Why are you guys in a rush for? It's just, you're asking another follow-up question from that. But that question starts the timeline and figuring out the information.
I've heard many agents say that I have talked to over the years that whatever timeline they give you, cut it in half conservatively, if not more.
For sure.
That they actually, if they said 6 months, they really mean 3 and maybe less.
Yeah. One way to
meaning
know,
like only thing that's sorry, Stephen. The only thing that's stopping them is they haven't found the right house. But if they found it, they would buy it today. type idea.
Right. One way to know a timeline, that's just a helpful hint. If someone comes in and just speaks so great about the property, I love this, and there's zero negatives on the property, you know they're going to be a longer term lead. Because anybody that's actually interested, that's ready to make an offer on a property, is going to tear it apart.
Wow.
If you know they come in and they're just like, I love this is amazing, all this good stuff, I'm like, they ain't buying this home. They're not buying this one. I don't try to sell on the home at that point.
That does make a lot of sense, because when you have to buy something or make a decision, you are a lot more cautious. Yep.
Right. Cautious, nervous.
Yeah.
Like a little bit more. They're not going to be your happy-go-lucky, super interactive.
And don't talk to the people that want to talk to you. Anybody that feels comfortable talking to you, those are not the ones that are going to be the good buyers. How weird is that? Anybody that's extremely engaging and feels no pressure with you means they're not going to buy, because they're not going to be sold. They're not going to be sold. Anybody that feels pressure on being sold is the one that's going to buy. And so you actually have to, I tell my agents this, when you're sitting there at the table and someone's trying to talk to you and someone's walking around, dude, you just got to be the rude person. Like, you're not going to be rude, obviously, but you got, hey, give me 1 second. I got to go talk to them real quick. Like, I cut my conversation in my last open house off to go talk to someone else, because I knew they were the buyers and this person talked to him. He's not the buyer. It's
wow.
really weird. Yep. But you have
that makes sense. That translates. That's got to be a sales principle, because that translates to so often what we see at conferences or on the phone. It's like, when the person actually is interested, they're guarded, because they know if I show I'm interested, I might get sold. Where the person who's not interested, they're not guarded at all, because they never planned to buy. So that's really, really powerful. So how do you get them to sign in?
Yeah.
Right. Because some people don't want to give their info.
Right. So timeline, we asked that. Okay, perfect. Well, obviously go through the house, see what you think. I would love to hear your feedback or any questions that you have. But before you do, I just need you to sign in real quick. Just your name, your number, email. One of the main reasons we do this is actually because the seller wants to know everyone that's walked through, right? Just like if you own this house, you would want to know who came through. So I want to make sure all this
I love that.
on there, so they have that, and we can go from there. Because then no one can say no, because everyone's like, oh, yes. And that is true. Like, it's not a false statement. I will let the seller know how many people we had come through, who all came through.
And they do want to know. Yeah. Correct.
Right.
And I don't even explain. I just tell them to sign in here, and then you guys can open up doors, drawers, whatever you guys want to see. Right. So I just tell them, because I want it to be a little bit awkward for them to.
You're kind of like, hey, sign in here, and you just stare them down, stare them in their soul.
Then are you doing it? Get away from me. It's like kind of the vibe. It's like, you guys can go open up doors, drawers, whatever you guys want to see.
You mentioned your laptop, Cody,
because there's a lot of pressure there.
No, I was just going to ask. You mentioned laptop. Are you having them do it digitally, or is it paper?
Yeah, and we actually created. You can do like a Google form where like you answer the questions, you hit submit, and then it'll go into Excel doc, and then we have it linked to our CRM as well. So then it automatically links to Follow Up Boss.
Yeah, it's sick. Okay, so let's move now to, okay, you got them, you got the open house going, people are coming in, you're getting them to sign in. Do you follow them around the open house or no?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
So I do. It's at the open houses. It's so creepy sometimes, so I'm not following them around, but I am intentional to exactly where they're at in the house. So the other day, the front door is right where the staircase is, and the kitchen is where I'm having them sign in. So I walk them to the kitchen when they come in, then they sign in, then they go throughout the house. I'm not following them. When they come down the stairs, I know I have to meet them before they just run out the front door. And so I'm just very intentional about listening to where they're at, because I'm going to meet them at the door to get feedback for the sellers. And obviously I'm just getting feedback for myself, what they thought. If they start picking apart the house, I'm like, that's great. That's more data for me. And then I go from there, but we don't follow them around the house. If you do, that's, it's going to feel awkward, and rapport building is extremely important in this process. So after I get them signed in, I'm like, it's all rapport building and collecting data from there, because I'm going to be setting up expectations for when I'm going to follow up and provide the value that I'm talking about at that point.
Okay. So then a last question would be on kind of when they're in the house, and then we'll move to how you set up the follow-up. Like, how do you pick what data you share to make you look like the expert? Do you ever do any special things, like there's a park down the road, or there's a this, that, and the other that makes you elevated or makes the house more valuable?
I share. He does.
Cody's rolling his eyes. Steven's like, no. Cody's like rolling his eyes. Yeah, I do.
Well, it's all about value add, right? So I share information that they wouldn't know otherwise. So yeah, if there's a park down the road that I found some sort of motivation that they'd be interested in, I'll share that. But I'll share things about the house, like, roofs, been updated, HVAC's been updated, that kind of thing, to say, hey,
so you go more, which makes sense. You go more like deep, I call them infrastructure things, like roof, foundation, HVAC, like something about the house that people would be nervous of.
Yeah, but just remember, no one really cares. The only reason I'm doing that is to show that I'm the professional and build some sort of trust. Right. I'm really not interested in those things. I'm not interested in the park down the road, because most of the time they've shared that they don't care. You know what I mean? I want to know what you care about so that I can solve the motivation. And
okay, gotcha.
I'll share pieces that will build trust with me and the consumer at that point. So for instance, the other day I'm walking through the house and I'm like, and just so you know, like, most people don't understand this, when they're looking, but a lot of deals get sold off the market. And you just got to understand that, because, you guys probably been looking for a while, right? And they're like, yeah, we've been looking for a while. But, just so you know, a lot of the deals that you guys are looking for don't even hit the market. And obviously that begs the question of, how do you get those deals? And then I can come in as the trusted professional, and I also can set up expectations. So my last one was, hey, we've got one right around the corner that I think, based on what you're telling me, you'd be really interested in. I'll send that property to you guys right after you guys leave. And then I'm following up expectations.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yep. So your hook is off-market properties. That's your hook to get the follow-up set up. That's really good.
In conversation, right? So getting the feedback on the house, what you think, awesome, and then the pitch that Steven just did about off-market deals.
Yeah, and remember, we may not be in this market in the next 5 years. We might be in a different market, so you might have a different motivational piece. But right now, what did people tell you they wanted? They want their agent to find them a property. Over 50% of buyers said, I want my agent to find me a property. And so if you know that we're in that kind of market, why change it up, right? Why not just add them the value, and you've got the product? And that doesn't have to be with you. It can be with your brokerage. Like, off the market deals happen all the time within brokerages. I mean, that every top agent that I've talked to, that's what they're doing.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's a perfect hook because it's a paywall, basically. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's something that you have access to that even Zillow can't give them, or, the MLS feed, even in a way, can't give them.
Yep.
And so that's your value now is in place. Yeah.
And if they're truly looking, they're gonna want it. They're gonna want it. They can't say no to it. It's too big of a value.
And the hardest thing in sales is realizing buyers are liars. Because I remember, like, when we went looking for an open house, we were like, maybe, and then it was like, I think we said, I think we were like, we're thinking like 350 grand. Yeah. And it's like we went, I think 500 something grand for our first, so we were totally not purposefully lying, but giving a way more extended time frame, a way less budget than what we ended up doing, because it wasn't the budget and it wasn't the timeline. It was, did we find the right house for us? Like, that is what drives everything. And once you understand that, it's really the pain point. What's the pain point or the desire? Right. Yeah. And if I can help you achieve your desire, then people will pay. Then people will move.
If you know that piece, it's funny because everyone gets nervous about the door knocking and asking people if they want numbers on their house. But you, Luke, as the consumer, buyers are liars, right? But what is one piece that you would love to know? The value of your house, right? Yes. What is one piece that you would want to know when you're at the open house? The person wants to work with you. But we start to get really salesy and don't push outside of us to tell the consumer what they really should want, right? They've already told you, you already know this information, but you just got to tell people, dude, I want to work with you guys. I would love to work with you guys. And it feels so good from the consumer because no one has the brass to be able to say that, because they're just so scared and they get into this sales-oriented, over-educating people. They start to go into rates.
Yeah, well, they dance around. Yeah, we see this on the phones with selling real estate agents. And Grant Cardone teaches this. Obviously he's a sales trainer for many years and now has other things. But he would say, you must state your intention. Stop shying away. Like, you need to tell people, 100%. Hey, I want you to sign up for my product. Hey, I want to work with you, because all of a sudden all this adding value now is actually true value. But when you don't state the intention, it feels like you're trying to manipulate and sell me into buying into you. And it's like, stop trying to manipulate and sell me into buying into you. Tell me, hey, I want to work with you. And here's, I want to give you this, and I want to give you this, and I want to give you this, because now it actually is in the right, authentic context, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And people just overeducate. Stop. Like, people buy off of emotions. We always talk about, and then they justify off of logic. And it's just like, people are, it's just like, you just got to state your intentions. You just got to do it. But
Yep. All right.
Cool.
So I know we got to wrap up here, but I want to hear, can you give us kind of your couple minute take on follow-up? Like, how do you do the follow-up? How long does it take? When do you hit them? Is it right away? Kind of, how does that go?
So simple. Speed to lead still is the same here. It's like, you got to reach out right after the open house, because that's when they're going to remember you, and it's going to show that you really work hard for people. So speed to lead is extremely important. The second thing is the piece we already mentioned, which is 50% of buyers want you to find them a property. So what are you going to be sending them of value? Properties. And it's the simplest thing. So most people struggle because there's not a lot of inventory, right? And so when the property comes on the market, it might be a week from now, which is too late to follow up with the lead. So what I do is two things. One, we come prepared to the open house. We send them off the market deals, so we already have the product that they're interested in. The second thing is, I will send them products that they're not interested in as well. And I know they're not going to be interested in it. The important piece here is that you explain what you think they won't be interested in and what you remembered that they were interested in. So, hey guys, this one, I know it's a little bit smaller than what you guys were looking for, but it does have that open concept. And I just saw it. I wanted to send it to you guys. Feel free to tear it apart, and tell me exactly what you don't like about the property, because that will help me narrow in on exactly what you guys are looking for. So I have a piece to follow up with. I've told them, I listened to you and your wants. I understand you. And so I'll follow up with that kind of information. But it really is as simple as that. The third piece that I'll mention is, people are at different portions in the funnel. And so if you're sending a property to someone that wants to move in a year, it's probably not the right follow-up, because that's not what they're interested in. The people that are 6 months out, and lower, those are the people that you want to send properties to. Otherwise, it's just relationship building at that point. So you're just calling the follow-up. And remember this, people who are going to buy will not answer the phone. People who are going to buy will not answer the phone. Same with selling. We go to the listing appointment the other day, and you know what he says? He's like, yeah, he loves this guy. He loves Nathan. It's just incredible. Yeah, Nathan called me 3 days ago. Then he called me 2 days ago. Then he called me 1 day ago. And I told Nathan I'd follow up as soon as, we were actually ready. So I followed up with him, the third day, and let him know we're ready at that point. He's not going to answer the phone until he's ready, but he really appreciates the hustle and the follow-up. And so you just got to remember that you're not hurting people by following up and them not answering. You don't want them to answer a lot of the times. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it doesn't matter. You just have to just keep following up consistently. So you have to have some sort of program, some sort of CRM for your follow-up, so that you can remember these people and keep following up. I mean, he just had a lead 2 years ago that I'd say didn't follow up with as much. Just reach out to him over two of our other agents that have been following up with them because of his value add to the person and the rapport building. But
when I first
that's incredible.
I slapped off pretty hard, but he reached back out.
You make a great impression, Cody. Yeah. There you go.
I'm memorable. Yeah.
Dude, that is a golden nugget that I think is so powerful for business owners, agents, salespeople to understand. The people who want to buy oftentimes don't answer.
They don't answer
because they know they want to buy. And normally this takes place after you've already had a convo with them.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't know leads that you haven't had combos with. You just have to call and find out and qualify. But this is after you've qualified somebody of like, okay, I've had a combo, whether at an open house, on a phone call, whatever. Oh, they're not answering. Man, I could have swore they're ghosting me. I could have swore. It's like, don't stop.
Right.
Because it's just a timing thing. There was a loan I was going to do one time. I forget if it was for our real estate business, Steve, or what it was, but I needed this. Like I was going to do it. Every time the lady called me, I was either on the phone with somebody else or I was in the middle of something and I literally could not answer, but I was like, gosh, but I never called her back. But she just kept calling. But eventually she stopped and we ended up going with somebody else. And I thought to myself, I would have bought from her. Like I would have bought if she would have just hit me at a time where I could have picked up the phone or I was there, but it was just a timing thing, but she had stopped too soon. And she had called me like 2 or 3 times and she probably thought, oh, I guess he's ghosted me. I guess he's done, because we had already had a great convo and she stopped and she lost out on that loan business. It's just crazy.
Well, and that's real estate game. It's building a relationship. So even if they're not going to buy now, they will buy or sell in the future, most likely.
Yeah. So good.
Love it.
So it's like you're building that. Go ahead, Josh.
Awesome. No, just wanted to say thank you. I thought we were done. I thought it was a good time to awkwardly close this podcast. And
Josh was like, we got to wrap this up, man. We're at like 40 minutes here. No.
Yeah, so hopefully that answers the question.
Hopefully we're not.
That's really good. I think that is such a good masterclass in holding an open house. Obviously, everything that we're talking about, we don't know if it's the perfect way to do it. If you have better ways, please comment, share on YouTube, let us know what worked for you. But this is working for them. They closed 18 deals using this last year, which is awesome.
And you like Cody's way or Steven's way better?
One last thing. So we mentioned this early on, but you have to be extremely intentional. And it takes every time you're going to do your open house to get in the right mindset. Mm-hmm. If you are just going to check off a box, I promise you'll never win. You'll never get open house leads. If you go in with the mindset, all right, this is going to be difficult. It's going to be really difficult to approach this person. Every time for me, like I sell a lot of homes. I feel it every single time. God, this is hard. I hate having to push for this information every time. So I have to get in the right mindset. I do that like 15 minutes in the car ride. It's just silence. I'm just driving to the house. Like
the Rocky music's going in your head. Dun, dun, dun.
Get ready. But it does. It may be one of the most important parts is just getting in the right mindset.
That's so good. That's so good.
Awesome. Yep. Well, thank you guys. And thank you all so much for listening. You can check out the show notes as well as you can get a link to that resource that we mentioned, remindermedia.com/open house. And then you can check out the show notes for the episode at staypaidpodcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. Let us know your questions as well that you want us to answer here on the podcast. And the best way to support the show is share this episode with somebody that you know. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, follow us on social media. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree. Great episode, gentlemen. I hope people will go and try to do an open house. That's really your action item. Go to remindermedia.com/open house and download their SOP. It's going to walk you through exactly what we talked about here so you can go implement it at your open house. And remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. Take action.